So, Liz, you
Hey. Look at you, Joe. You had something good?
Hey, Wayne.
Oh, I ate a spicy chicken sandwich, but I ate nothing because I wanted to get my blood work. That's something they call it. It's so, it ain't the best calm offer that you could get. Haven't had one in a few weeks. So they don't down there.
That's true.
They have McDonald's, but we don't stop, they don't stop at McDonald's.
Maybe I'm
Go look for
seeing
something else down there, they ain't gonna sell it no more. They got all these places, we can go here, we can get this, and we can order this, order that, you know, and down where my brother
That's
said.
true. They know what they have.
Yeah, they know what they have. It's not, I don't know, they already had this talking made, so.
This belongs to someone. The community, maybe it's for Jeff to bring some.
That could be, I bet it is.
Yeah, I like Dunkin' Donuts stuff, but Dunkin' Donuts, you know. Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Yeah, I love the doctor talks. Hello. How's it going? It's going.
You feeling better?
Yeah, I got a lot of tips. She did. So we don't want to talk about that here. I got a lot of tests I'm going got to go through, but I'm better than I was. Like I told when I called Leslie, I got chest pain. I thought that my sister, my sister, my granddaughter, never had anxiety.
Oh.
I was talking about my anxiety pains I was having.
Oh, yeah.
I thought I was worried about my heart, but anyway, she checked my breathing was good and everything, so. I wanna make sure that cholesterol is good. That was my biggest thing too.
Yeah. What do you got? Is that relief?
I woke up last Wednesday and I was, chest pains.
Right.
I was sneezing and probably when I had that test Thursday, I definitely want to get that test. For this, I didn't know how for this show. They gave me double shots in there. Every time I go, we've been giving that cortisone shot. So the last time I went, they gave me and bad. Yeah. So it helped. It helps, but now I've been using them. I was telling Sue, when I was dead about this stick shift car. And you know that the stick shift, you do this.
That's
hand.
right.
So I learned how to drive with this hand. So now I'm trying to learn how to drive my right hand.
Hi, Jeff.
And so it's better because I'm not doing all that turning, but now they got us parking on the street, so I got the parallel park. So I got to use both hands, the parallel park.
That's true.
So I'm moving the shoulder more and more.
More, so it's.
Yeah, more so now. But,
Yeah.
they said it's a rotator cuff and I'm hoping in my life. You should have a thing. I'm calling when I get home. You should have it now. You should have told me. You should have it.
Yeah. The 19th. I might. The fifth one. What was the second one? It would print and actually install something. So I talked to Henrietta. She said she's.
What's he did about the stick shift? Because he said, they ain't gonna drive it. Dude, Kurt, like, he's wrong. And as soon as he left her, you get that feel. He was there, you know, down there, you got that wide open field, they got that hip.
That's true, Bob,
They
different.
got that hip for some cows.
No, that's so.
Okay. Right.
So that is, okay. So, I'm doing this Sunday. And I was ready to get eight. I probably wait.
I know you said the 26th you would be able to do, right?
Actually, at the office.
So you'll do the 26th?
I could, I see that you've already claimed it.
May first.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't know why it's not.
New month. Oh, my goodness, can you believe it? We're on the fifth month?
Yeah.
We'll start on the fifth month this year.
Okay, I'll do that.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. So
Yeah, we're on the
claim
fifth month.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Fifth
Oh,
month
yeah,
of
why
the
is
new
it, yeah.
year.
Yeah, we've done that too, Wade and I have never switched, but it looks like, yeah, the 26th is still open at the gaps. Go in there and think.
Still in town. I think we got this one.
Something, I forgot it. I was so busy trying to get an appointment with these.
Okay. Oh. Oh, that is-
Because when I moved over there, you know, I increased my, I got light in, it's not. But they told me as soon as you move, go get you some help for everything. My sister got sick, and you know, didn't go, there you go. So I was calling the day you have to have an appointment, you know, to go, so I was calling the day, 'cause they said, oh, yeah, they were someplace. So I could just, you know, face, it's not bad, though,
Hi, little lady.
but I had to
What
cut back,
happened? What is that? You got a stem? Yeah.
cut back, so
Oh, yeah, that's from our
can't
leaf.
get the deal no more.
Okay, she'll definitely like one of those.
Now I'm seeing off, which ones you want? You want grape, orange?
I'm gonna have to share it with someone. I misplaced my sheet for
What do you
you.
say?
Oh,
What do you
say?
say?
You're welcome. Yeah, that was very nice of Linda to bring that gift. We have extras. Oh, I suck Oliver's. Oh. Yeah, I didn't have one. That was the only one I saw on the podium. Oh, there wasn't one for you? No, not this one, no.
I thought I saw your name.
I didn't see it. I just saw Oliver, so I'm borrowing his because he's not here today.
Does anybody need a copy? No. You need a copy?
Yeah, I'm borrowing Oliver's right now. I can use it for now, but, oh, yeah, you should have it. Here, come here first.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Lindsay, I'm just gonna give you this in case you
Oh,
can mark on it.
Okay, yeah, in case Oliver comes, yeah, too. He's like, thank you.
Right.
Hey,
Oh, very badly, you know.
yeah.
Stupid, got a little pain right here. Otherwise, it's okay this morning, but then now it's aggravated. I don't know why.
You're pending the
Yeah.
butt.
Yeah, that's it. So,
Before we start, I can lead next week.
Okay. Who do you think?
And what plan?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Where did Lindsay go?
I know,
You don't know? Where'd Mama go?
I know.
But you're here. Your mommy's name is Lindsay.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey Valentina, how come every time I see you, you're eating?
She's a growing girl.
She's a bottomless.
And look at all the
pit.
weight she's put on.
Yeah.
That's right. Give it to mommy.
Thank
Let
you.
mommy worry about it. Yeah, that's how that works.
That's how that works.
The birds, you wanna give it to the birds?
The birds will love that.
Okay, we're all set. Okay. So, John 15:9-17. The focus question is, how do I abide in love of Christ? And the prayer is this: Dear Lord, you want us to abide, commitment to love you and one another with you as the commandment. Keep it as commandment will keep us together with joy and happiness. Okay, and then I will. Is the verse. Okay. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I kept my Father's commandments to abide in this love. These things I have spoken to you, that my joy may be in you, that your joy may be full. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends, if you do what I command you. No longer do I call you my servant, for as the servant does not know what his master is doing, I have called you friends. For all that I have heard from you, heard from my Father, I made known to you. You did not choose me, but I choose you, and appoint you that you should go and bear fruit, that your fruit should abide. So whatever you ask the Father in my name, he may give that to you. This I command you, to love one another. Okay. So I'll start, okay. Word of life, this is my commandment, that you love one another as I love you. Okay, I'll do the first one here. John knows something of love. In fact, Jesus embodies God's love, extending his love to disciples and others. In Christ, with each of us has the possibility of experiencing a perfect kind of love unattached on this earth. Jesus invites his followers to abide in his love. One, what does it mean to abide in the love of Jesus? Okay, it's to cherish or be on the same plane of align with God's Jesus love, continuous uninterrupted connection with you. For number two, how does exactly one abide in the love of Jesus? Try to be like number one. Okay, so that's what I know. Okay.
What does it mean to abide in the love of Jesus?
You try to live the way that Jesus wants us to live. Jesus loves us and he tells us how he wants us to live. How exactly does one abide in the love of Jesus? You can read the Bible to find out how you're supposed to love. You can pray for help to live the way Jesus wants us to live. You can surround yourself with people who love Jesus and can give you examples. It's not always easy, but you gotta try. So I pass it on to Jenny.
You know, I'm just gonna say what I see, and they say to submit fully to his will. And pass it on to Sue.
What does it mean to abide in the love of Jesus? It's a life-giving connection to Jesus. To be present and kept in the word and his will. Okay, so how exactly does one abide in the love of Jesus? By following his commandments and following, being an example as Christ, and spreading the word and reading the Bible and going and do the best you can with each day. I pass it on to you, Lindsay.
For number one, I think I agree with everything that's been said. I think just us, understanding like what his love means. I think, truly understanding the strength and the magnitude of what he did for us. And for number two, I agree with what's been said. And yeah, that famous, like, what would Jesus do? Always trying to act as he would act. And I agree, it's hard. It's very hard. And I passed it on to Lauren.
Alrighty, what does it mean to abide in the love of Jesus? Yeah, I agree with what's been said. But, and also, if we abide in Jesus's love, we'll know true love. And how exactly does one abide in the love of Jesus? Reading and contemplating the Gospels, studying Jesus's life and practicing living by his example. I'll pass it to you, Wayne.
As has often happened in the past, the authors of this have answered their question right after they asked it. So see the very next paragraph, but even that doesn't go far enough. In the middle of the text that we were assigned to read, verse 13. Greater love has no one than this, that one lay down his life for his friends. Now, on the previous, in chapter 13, Jesus has already begun to predict his death. The disciples aren't getting it, but he's already started to predict it. Now he's saying it again, because this is verse 13 is what he's doing. It's almost as though he's doing it and he's got no choice in the matter. It's instinctive. It's something he has to do. And maybe that's the whole point. If we have to think about doing it, maybe we're already too late. Anyway, forgive me for rambling on. I'll pass it on to Jan.
I agree with you.
Oh, thank you.
So have put that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would show.
Okay. Jesus gives a fundamental tip on the practice of abiding. Jesus directly links abiding in his love to the keeping of his commandments.
Thus, the commandments are not simply laws to establish boundaries of behavior, but serve to shape and direct a person in relating to God and one's neighbor. Jesus reminds the followers of the joy in following the commandments and sharing love. There is a depth of joy found in abiding in Christ. Jesus describes this joy as complete. 3, in your opinion, how do the commandments teach us to love? Well, the commandments show us what we need to do. We honor our father and mother. We don't steal from our neighbors. We don't covet what your neighbor has. We don't kill people. I mean, reading the Gospels gives us more examples of how we should live. And we have to remember we're going to make mistakes. So we have to keep going back and reading the Gospels to remind ourselves what we really need to do. And for question number 4, I don't know what makes joy complete. I just think knowing that you're living a life that Jesus wants you to live, you're trying to live a life that Jesus wants you to live. I pass it on to Jenny. Okay.
Number 2, verse 12 say, this is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. So that's what I got to say for that one. And what makes joy complete? Joy has to be in your heart. If it's not in your heart, you gotta have it deep down in your heart. I remember when we was a kid, we used to say, joy, joy, joy. I got it deep down in my heart. You got to have the joy in your heart, because if you don't have that joy in your heart is not, to me, soft. It's just, I don't know, how you say it. Everything you look at is something wrong with it.
Dark, like
There's something wrong. You can find something to criticize
Yeah.
about, but if you got the joy and the love of Jesus down in your heart, and that's why I believe it starts in the heart. I'll pass it on to you, Sue.
Okay, in your opinion, how do the commandments teach us to love? Gives us a set of rules to follow, as well as being a role model for Christ, and doing his word and following the commandments, because it gives you guidelines. Makes joy complete. It's the gift of the Spirit, and also relationship with Christ makes your joy complete. Because it's like, and God knows all. So I'll pass it on to,
For me,
yeah,
she's on the phone.
okay.
Okay. So in my opinion, how do the commandments teach us to love? I feel like they show us how to live in community with each other. Like you were saying, Judy, don't kill each other, don't steal your neighbor's stuff, honor your parents. And what makes joy complete? I like what you said, Jetty. Knowing I'm doing my best. That's what makes it complete. And that I'm trying and I'm not resisting what God, wants me to do. I pass it to you, Wayne.
Okay. My answer to question number 3 is with total commitment. And again, I like Jetty's answer. That was right on the money. What makes joy complete? I'm not doing it for joy. I should just be doing it because I'm doing it. Passing on to Jen.
Oh.
I agree with Lynn. So
Okay, well, for number 3, I agree with Judy says. Number 4, with Jenny and Wayne. I like it, so. That's it, so, okay, now. So, you're gonna get a number 5, huh?
Okay. As Jesus continued to make it very simple, he condensed the commandments to one: love one another as I have loved you. At least it started simple, but then Jesus set a standard higher. He added, love as I have loved you. These are the words spoken by someone who is going to sacrifice and give his life for the sake of love. Describe someone who loved as Jesus loved. Well, first of all, I don't think nobody gonna love as Jesus loved because he just said it. He sacrificed his life, and unless a parent sacrificed their life for their child, I can't see. Only thing I can say that we have to love as he loved. That's the only thing I can say about that. Describe someone who loved as he loved. We have to love as he loved, but we're not going to sacrifice because he gave up his life for us. So I pass it on to you to describe
Someone who loves as Jesus loved, well, love one another and follow God's commandments and do the best you can with God's help. And Jesus was crucified for to give up his life for all of us. I pass it on to you, Lindsay. We're on question 5.
I mean, my first thought when I read this was like, I can't think of anyone who's loved like that. I mean, and now like the closest thing I can think of is maybe like a parent to a child. I feel like it's, you would sacrifice yourself for your child maybe, but even then, I still can't think of anyone who is at that level as Jesus. I'm gonna pass it on to Lauren.
Yeah, as far as somebody like specific, I can't think of like any particular person, I speak for myself, but I think of someone who loves as Jesus loved would be someone who accepts a person for who they are and for who they are not. And also they accept someone for who they aren't, and not what that person could do for them. Like unconditional, like, oh, I'm only going to love you or even like you if you, do certain things or you don't do certain things. You know what I mean? So it's about just total acceptance. I pass it to you, Wayne.
Okay. Well, one person who comes to mind is a hypothetical person, the Good Samaritan. He didn't, when he found this guy all beat up and robbed, he didn't think twice about what had to be done. There's another thing here too. As we read the story, we're led to believe, oh, this guy has money. He can afford to be doing this. Maybe he didn't have money. Maybe he couldn't afford to be doing it. Maybe it's a real self-sacrifice for him to have to be paying this injured person's room and board, and going, maybe even possibly making himself late for his business where he's going. But this guy's going to do it anyway. I'll pass it on to Jim.
I'm going to have,
Okay,
yeah,
mine was good. Jay's had a much better description. And then Wayne sort of topped it all, so.
yeah.
So, so then I guess, but that's, what now? Well, that's right, you got it.
I have to go with Wayne, the Good Samaritan. I can't think of anybody personally. Human beings are so complex that I don't think anybody can love as Jesus loved. But I think the Good Samaritan sort of fits that. Right, and Jenny started.
Jesus reminds his disciples of the sacrificial love of laying down one's life for the sake of another. Love of Jesus is not self-centered, nor does his love seek again. Can a child have such love? How so? why don't all adults grow into this mature sacrificial kind of love? I'll pass it on to you, Lindsay.
Jesus, not so, nor does he his love seek gain. Yeah, I mean, I think, can a child have such a love? How so? Like, I'm going back between 6 and 7 because it's like, well, we all start out as children, and says, why don't we grow into this? Because, well, if we're not taught, if we're not shown, we can't really get into number 7. We have to look back at our own childhood. So yeah, it's all about our environment and what's modeled for us. And I mean, I think, yeah, you can learn anything if you learn early enough and if you practice it enough. But I really like what Lauren said, though. I like your talk about
No,
conditional, and
I'm gonna get you some paper.
you know what, I had a book here for.
It's okay.
I like
It's
what
okay.
Lauren
It's
was
okay.
saying about, conditional and unconditional love, and I think that's so important. I think that's why, unfortunately, a lot of us might become the way we become because, how did our parents love us? How did our grandparents love us? And then, so that's all I have for that, to pass on to Lauren.
All right. Can a child have such love? So I think like the sacrificial love of laying down one's life. Or not being self-centered. I think a child can have that kind of love because they are not burdened with adult life. They're more pure in a way. They don't have the baggage, which then leads into number 7. Why don't all adults grow into this mature sacrificial kind of love? Because the world gets in the way, meaning like, I want my way, or I want revenge, or I'm a victim, or whatever, like all that stuff gets in the way of it. And it clouds our ability to see. So I pass it to you, Wayne.
Okay, my answer to number 6 is probably not. And my answer to number 7 is I like Lauren's answer. Pass it on to Jen.
I like knowing and to from the
Okay.
effort and
For number 6, I'm going to do it different. A child cannot fully understand or love or have total maturity of Jesus' love. It's more like innocent love. For number 7, I like Lauren's description a little better.
Wow.
You topped my on there, so it's better.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if children can have like sacrificial love. I know young children, before their environment gets in the way, can be very accepting. I think children learn to be racist. They learn from what they hear at home.
That's true.
That's true. But when they start, I think children can be very accepting of different people until their environment gets in the way. And why don't all adults grow into this mature sacrificial kind of love? Probably because of the way they were raised too. And their environment and all the baggage they have, and so I pass it on to Jenny.
I was thinking about number 6. And a child can only know what you teach them. And she just brought that up. A child, if you teach the love of them, a child don't know prejudice or anything else. But if it's brought into the house, then the child knows. And I thought about when I was teaching Sunday school, this little kid, because that church was mixed. This little kid, we was like in a circle playing games, and I went to touch him. He said, "Don't touch me. I hate blacks."
Oh my God.
And I took Laverna and this one little kid, I love you, Miss Jenny. I love you. Just start hollering it out, I love you. But, I didn't get upset with him because I knew that this is what he had
Where it came
heard.
from.
Because he's a kindergarten.
Yeah.
I'm teaching 3, 4, and 5-year-olds.
Mhm.
So this is what he heard. So when church was over, I went to his parents and I told them, and they, they said, yes, they in-laws was teaching that in the home.
Hmm.
And when you said that, I thought about that. A child do not learn from nobody but home. It starts in the house, in the home. And I couldn't get mad because, I knew it had to come from inside. And Laverna, she was like, oh, I am so glad you was in that classroom. Anybody else had have been in there besides me would have took it personally, but I didn't. Because this is a child,
Yeah.
and a child can only learn what you teach them. So, and I agree with Lauren and you about the
It's true.
7. I totally agree.
Whatever happened with that child? Do you know, like,
They moved away. They went to Pennsylvania because the mother, both parents had lost their jobs. This is how it happened. Both parents had lost their job. They had to move in with the in-laws.
Right.
The mother was able to land a job in Pennsylvania. So they moved to Pennsylvania. The father followed along, because he figured he could get something later on. But she was like up there in education. So she landed a pretty good job that they could be comfortable. So they moved to Pennsylvania. Yeah. But I didn't know the in-laws, I just knew.
well, hopefully they.
But if
continue.
you know the church at that time, it was basically all German.
Oh, this was way back.
Yeah, it was basically all German then.
Mhm.
And you would know if a person came to that church, they couldn't be prejudiced because we was mixed. We had 11 countries when I went into that church. So that was 30 some years ago. It was 11 countries in that church.
Wow.
Yes. So yeah, that's what happened. And I would say they doing well, or did well.
Yeah.
But they got out of the environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's on you, Lindsay.
Oh, wait, what's Sue?
I passed.
She read.
Right, yeah.
Oh,
She started.
Yeah,
You're up.
I started.
You're up.
Okay, I'm up to read. Okay. After all of this, Jesus changes the way he refers to his followers. No longer are his disciples to be considered servants, but are friends. The status of friend means more than being Jesus's pals and buddies. Rather, it suggests an intimate relationship of knowing one another. Jesus and the disciples are friends in that they share certain values and common experiences. Number 8, what does it mean to have Jesus as our friend? Number 9, how does it feel to be chosen to be a friend, especially a friend of Jesus? Well, to have Jesus as our friend, I mean, as I said, he knows us. He knows our good, our bad, our everything. And, like I talked the other day about God's omnipresence, I believe he knows everything. We're thinking, feeling, he just knows. So yeah, we have that same intimacy with him. And then going with the previous questions, he loves us because he still accepts us, even though we have our faults and more. And what does it mean to be chosen to be a friend, especially a friend of Jesus? Well, yeah, it's to have that unconditional love and to always have someone there, that you're not alone, that you can always, talk to him. Pass it on to Lauren.
Thank you. Okay, what does it mean to have Jesus as our friend? Well, I mean, think about it. A friend is a relationship between two people. And so being in a relationship means work, especially when you're an adult. I mean, it's easy for kids to make friends, but it's hard when you're an adult. Like, you have to work on it. You can't just expect them to call you all the time to make plans. You gotta take turns. You gotta make effort to call them, remember their birthday, just like this thing of like a general friendship. So for Jesus to be there, that means like he's there for me, so I need to be there for him. And then how does it feel to be chosen to be a friend, especially a friend of Jesus? Well, it's a great feeling knowing someone's got your back, you have this a friendship with another person. It feels great, feels special. I pass it to you, Wayne.
Well, Jesus answered the question in the text.
What-
I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends, for everything that I have learned from my Father, I have made known to you. And then they answered it down. They also answered it here right before they asked the question. So I guess,
Yeah.
I guess a servant is a one-way relationship, a friend is a two-way relationship.
Interesting, yeah.
And
So the difference, if I can just, if you don't mind me interrupting, that, like a servant and master relationship is this powerful, powerless,
Mhm.
but friends is equals,
Yeah,
Yeah.
peers equals.
that's the good news. The bad news is, question number 9, how does it feel to be chosen to be a friend, especially a friend of Jesus? Sounds like a great responsibility to me.
well, that time the disciples,
Yeah. I'll pass it on to Jen.
I got really wrapped up in the sad. So
Okay, well. Verse 8, 9, I agree with Lord, but Wayne's words is really good. Top mine, I tell you.
I bet it didn't. I'd like to hear what you had to say.
Well, like 1 in a million feeling to have, he had friends with Jesus. That's about it, so.
That's a good answer.
Thank you. Let's see, question number 8. I mean, to have Jesus as my friend is he thinks enough of me that he wants to be my friend, even with all my baggage and flaws, good points, how does it feel to be chosen to be a friend, especially a friend of Jesus? It's an honor to be chosen as a friend of Jesus, but that also comes with a responsibility. You sort of feel like you have to live up to how Jesus is, and knowing as a mere human, I'm not always gonna live up. But the good thing is he gives us second chances. So we do, as long as we're making an effort and trying, that's okay. I'll pass it on to Jettie.
Okay, I'm not gonna answer number 8 because Wayne and Lauren had did that one. But number 9, and think about chosen, he actually chose us. When we decided to follow him, he chose us as his friend. So, So I looked at that and I'm like, yeah, once I started to follow him, I'm a friend of Jesus. All I got to do is just follow him. All right, pass it on to
You
you.
mean to have Jesus as your friend? You have a personal relationship. How does it feel to be chosen? Yeah, you're honored, you're blessed. That he was a friend that gave his life for all of us. Pass it on to you, Lindsay. 8, 9.
okay, so I started this, and yeah, I guess I just wanted to add that, like, yeah, but I still have to reframe it back to that time of discipleship. Yeah, that, there was this, a lot of people were unsure in Jesus. So yeah, if you were with him, you faced that possible scrutiny. So it's easy for us to talk about it now, but back then. So I believe it's Lauren.
Yeah, and I wanted to add one more thing too, and I was saying about powerful, he's not someone who he's not saying I'm your master. Like, so the powerful, powerless, master and student. I'm your friend, I'm your equal. I just like, wow, and he's saying a friend, not, yeah, so. And so often we do, think of Jesus as this higher, I mean, he is a higher power, but like we're supposed to bow down to him and stuff. And Jesus really wants it to be our friend. are pure, are equal. So, very interesting.
I like that you highlighted that. That's that whole
Yeah.
dynamic,
Which
you know, the
kinda
power
popped into my
dynamic
head when
versus
we
the,
were talking about it, you know, so.
that was really a valid
Yeah.
point. that you brought up.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, so then the next part, this privilege of being called friend by Jesus comes with a certain responsibility and expectation. You know, Wayne, that's another thing about this. These readings is sometimes, you know, you answer the question and then the answer
Is next.
is next as well. So it's not always just like in the paragraph, but it's in the next part. And this is no exception. Jesus expects his disciples to go and bear fruit that will last. God's love has a way of doing that, bearing fruit. The disciples are encouraged to dream big about sharing God's love made known in Jesus. So in what ways did the disciples bear fruit? Well, they carried out his mission. They believed in his mission, not because he was their master, but he saw that the way that they lived, the way that he lived, was really a very useful and fulfilling way to live and live in, you know, Christ and live by what the Father wants them to do. So they, you know, they carried out his mission. All right, Wayne, what do you got for us?
Question number 10. Answer, they built the early church.
Hmm.
I'll pass it on to Jane.
Nice.
I agree with what has been said.
I guess Wayne does it again.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm on a roll.
No, yeah. Play the lotto.
Oh. How, in what ways did the disciples bear fruit? They went on, they spread Jesus's word all over the world. Pass it on to Jenny.
I'm just trying to think of this verse where he said he was sending them out into the world as lambs into a bunch of wolves.
Yeah.
So they went out and spreaded the word.
That's right.
That's what they did. You know, that's what they did. They bared his fruit. They spread the word and they saved souls. I can't repeat it like it is in the Bible, but you know where I'm
I
coming
know
from.
that. I'm sure we've had study on that.
Yes, because he said, I'm sending you
Yeah,
out.
last week.
Yeah. Okay, so on you.
Yeah, I agree with what's been said, so I'll pass it on. Carried out his mission and did his work.
I agree with what's been shared. And then, I don't know, I was thinking about, was it a few weeks ago or in church? They were talking about John, how John was, you know, would still preach at the church, you know, and talk about the times that when they were with Jesus. So I just thought about that, you know. And of course, you know, they all did, but that was just something that I thought of recently that came up.
Thank you.
Lauren.
I read all that. Your turn, Wayne.
Okay. Abide is an ancient word not often used in daily conversation. Yet in John chapter 15, verses 9 through 17, we are invited to abide in Jesus Christ. Many times we associate the word with staying close and connected with him. Take a few moments to explore the definitions of abide. Abide, to wait for. The season of Advent is the traditional time to ponder waiting for the coming of Christ. The first definition listed in the Webster's New Collegiate Dictionary is to wait for. That makes sense. Jesus is not physically with us. Thus, we wait for his coming again. Like anyone who yearns and longs to be fully reunited with a loved one, we too can anticipate a future connection with Christ that comes at the end of time. How do you wait for Christ? Well, in the original Advent, they were waiting with anticipation because of a few lucky souls were told that that's what was happening. A few others somehow heard that that a comet was gonna park itself above where the Son of God was gonna be. But that's not the same as waiting for the second coming. In the end of time. We don't know when that's gonna happen. That's gonna be a long wait. So my long-winded answer is for the first advent, they waited expectantly. For the second coming, we're gonna have to be patient. Explain the connection between waiting and abiding in Jesus. I don't get it, so I'll let someone else figure that out. What does loving have to do with abiding in Jesus? We've been over that. And he went over that, you know, I abide in you, you abide in me. I abide in God, he abides in me. I'm the vine, you're the branches. The branches are in the vine's in, that same metaphor over and over and over and over again. And it's, I'm not going to try to change it. I'm passing it on to Jim.
I have nothing more to say.
If you don't know what to do with it, don't feel bad. Neither do I.
Yeah, I can know.
Okay. Yeah, for number one, I guess patiently waiting. Number two, waiting and abiding about the same thing, And number three, same as question number two. That's it. Julie?
Thank you. How do I wait for Christ? All right, I have to be patient, however, while I'm waiting for Christ, I can try to live the way Jesus wants us to live. And, well, according to the paragraph above these questions, waiting and abiding mean the same thing. So waiting for is one definition for abide. So, and what does loving have to do with abiding in Jesus? Jesus told us to love like he loves us. And I pass it on to Jenny.
Well, number one, I don't see no other way. Number one, how do you wait? You gotta wait on Jesus. Can't do nothing, He's the maker. He's the Alpha and the Omega. He's the beginning and the end, and he knows. So you can't do nothing but wait on him. So explain to the nation of waiting and abiding in Jesus. I don't know. I'm passing on. I think Wayne did a pretty good job anyway.
Yeah.
Just me babbling on. Okay, Susan.
How do you wait for Christ? Trust and obey and do his word and move forward. It's time to come. Explain waiting and abiding. What does loving have to do with abiding? This is what we do. Okay, pass it on to you.
Well, for number one, I think, just living the best way you can, how Christ would want us to live, try to follow him in our day-to-day lives. I see on the previous page, I took abiding as like kind of like following, kind of surrendering, succumbing. That's how I took it in questions 1 and 2. Like, what does it mean to like follow, I guess, or I kind of took it that way. I took a different meaning to abide. So I think, number 2, again, just kind of, letting it be, his will. And what does loving have to do with abiding in Jesus? I think of that, what is that saying? Like, love is patient, love is kind, love is patience. And, we have to exercise our patience, and Jesus has patience for us and all our stuff. So we have to be patient with him sometimes. I think of like when we don't get what we want, or when we aren't getting the answers we think we expected or heard. I think that's a way we abide in Jesus, because we're accepting, okay, this isn't what he had for us, but it's something different. So I think, sometimes waiting Again, I'm losing it. So I'll pass on to Lauren.
You know, Judy, your answer pretty much mirrored what I was gonna say, so I'll leave it at that. Good. And, did you read that, Wayne?
I'm afraid so.
Yeah.
Jan, you want? Be
No,
number
but
four.
you-
Okay. Okay, to abide, to remain. There are many things in this life that might tempt a person to remain and endure, but not all are positive and life-giving. The person doesn't necessarily have to choose to abide in something positive. For example, a person might abide and remain in abusive marriage, alcohol, hatred, bitterness, or addictions. Therefore, what tempts you away from abiding the love of Christ? Well, it's several things. Maybe like fatigue, constantly trying to help someone and it's not working. Feel like overwhelming situation, peer pressure, or not feeling the connection or hearing from Christ. So, turn over to you, Judy.
Thank you. What tempts you away from abiding in the love of Christ? Thinking more of myself than other people. It's not always easy to do what Jesus wants you to do. Sometimes it's easier to not do what you know is right. Sometimes just everyday life. Or sometimes you might just be overwhelmed with personal problems and you can't really think about what Jesus would want you to do. I guess that's it, so I'll pass it on to Jim.
Yeah, you know what? You hit on it too, because I remember when I was tempted to bowl, the bowling ball, you know. I wouldn't go to church on Sunday morning and I didn't bowl until 3 o'clock in the evening. So, you know, that was a temptation. And I'm like, you need to give up that bowling. Because you bowl at 3 in the evening. There's no reason for you not to go to church for 11 o'clock service. That was none whatsoever. But I was tempted by that bowling ball. And you think about it, and when she said that, you know, it just popped out. Yes, I was there at one time. I let that bowling ball keep me away from the church. And, you know, when that league was over, I left it. They asked me, I said, oh, I can't bowl on Sundays. Of all days of the week, don't ask me to bowl on Sunday because I can't do it. I let that ball take control over my love or my desire to serve him. Yeah, so I pass it on to you.
What tempts you away from abiding in the love of Christ? Worldly things and self-centeredness, ways you're from abiding in the love of Christ.
Puppies.
Tempts you away from abiding in the love of-
It's rainbow.
You need to stay connected with Christ. Pass it on to you.
What tempts me away, I just been so caught up in ruminating and angry about stuff from the past, and it keeps me away from being present, you know, and I know it, and you know, that's the thing I'm trying to fight. And you know, I just hope I'm not letting Valentina down by, you know, anything that, you know, when my mind just gets caught up in ruminating and things like that. And it's like, yeah, I don't necessarily want to let certain things go because, you know, I'm just trying to understand still, but you know, I also see like the harm too. So it's definitely a work in progress for me. I'll pass on to Lauren.
Thank you. And, you know, for the record, you're doing a great job of being a mom to Valentine. So what tempts me away from abiding in the love of Christ? Well, you know, it's always fear at the core if we really contemplate it. And go to the barest bones. It's a fear of losing connection, you know, if we disappoint the people we want to be connected to, and even people, like it says in the paragraph, a person might abide and remain in an abusive marriage and alcohol and hatred, you know, because there's still a connection, even though it's fractured and dysfunctional, there's still a connection.
Yeah.
And we fear, you know, because if we have no connections, we die. But, and I feel like that's where the laying our lives down, you know, where Jesus laid his life down. You know, dying to that old life, which is scary, and entering into the new life in Christ. So, yeah. And Wayne?
I'm easily distracted. I'll pass it on to Jen.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I saw it, so.
So I
Okay,
Abide, to accept without objective. Trust is part of this definition. We are encouraged to trust the goodness and love of Jesus as he invites us to abide in him. Trust includes accepting his reign and leadership in our life. We trust his wisdom and love to become the guiding principles in our lives. 5, explain the connection between trust and abiding in Jesus. 6, how does trust encourage love to bear fruit? I don't think it's always easy to trust in Jesus. I think depending on what you've had going on in your, you know, sometimes it's just hard to trust that he's gonna have your back or things are gonna be okay. But it, you know, when you do trust Jesus, you know what Jesus has done, you know what he's done for you, so you want to live your life the way Jesus lived his. And trusting in Jesus, I think, helps you do that. But I think it's a process to get to that point. How does trust encourage love to bear fruit? Well, if you trust that Jesus knows what's best for you, and you know how Jesus wants you to live your life, it makes it a little easier to go out and do what he wants you to do. So I'll pass it on to Jenny.
The connection between trust and God. I think the only way that you really trust, you got to know Jesus. You got to know his will. You got to know whatever he does, even though you may not agree, but you got to trust his will in what he's doing. He don't make no mistakes, even though we may not see it at the time, but he don't make no mistakes. I know with this, you know, last few months in my life, I know he didn't make no mistakes. I know he did his job, but it doesn't, you know, help me in it with this, you know, grieving, but it helps me to know that he loved me, but he took mine. And I feel like he did that. And I told my family too, I said, if we want to see those two, we need to get our house in order and keep it in order. So I think that's the only way we're going to be able to, you know, like, and then we can abide in Christ if we trust him. And how to trust and encourage your loved one, like I told my family, get your house in order if you want to meet your siblings again. And I pass it on to you.
But the connection between trust and abiding in Jesus, yes. I agree with what's been said, so I'll pass it on. You trust in, because you trust and abide in Christ and you do his work, then you will bear fruit. And it's like, because there is the unconditional love. Pass it on to Lindsay.
Yeah, I mean, trust is love, and I think any loving relationship involves trust. You have to be able to trust, you know, who you're in that relationship with. So, yeah, I think a lot of times we wait to get answers from Jesus about different things in our lives, and we trust in him. And how does trust encourage love to bear fruit? Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know, you're giving yourself into the relationship when you trust. And that hopefully, as long as that trust is kept, you'll be able to have a fruitful relationship and be able to achieve things together. I pass it on to Lauren.
Thank you. I'm gonna answer 5 and 6 together. The connection between trust and abiding in Jesus, and then how trust encourages love to bear fruit. I feel that when we live in Christ, we are trusting that we'll be safe. Meaning like nervous system safe, like not in fight or flight or freeze. And then when we feel safe in our bodies, we can do pretty much anything. So it's about that safety, feeling safe to do things, and not a place of fear. That requires awareness. And I pass it to you, Wayne.
Well, for question number 5, it's sort of like when Peter briefly walked on the water and then thought about what he was doing, and then did the old Wile E. Coyote routine. And Lindsay was right. When she was saying the trust and the abiding go together hand in hand. How does the trust encourage love to bear fruit? Well, the apostles demonstrated that after Pentecost, when they went out at great peril to themselves and evangelized, started the church. Pass it on to Jen.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh yeah. Oh no.
I just didn't read the name. From the paper.
Okay, well, for number 5, I kind of agree with Jenna and Lauren. And number 6, well, it's like showing others about Jesus' love to one another.
Bubble, bubble,
So,
bubble.
okay, so
Bubble,
you got,
bubble.
So you got a couple.
you want to do the one, or you want to do one, or just hold on?
We just do the prayer, right?
Okay,
And well, 259,
yeah,
whatever we want to do.
okay, well,
It's a night
we want
bubble.
to do the prayer, I'll say that.
What? Yeah, bubble.
Christ,
Christ, hold us tight so we might abide in you. Share love and bear much good fruit. Amen.
Money.
get each day with you.
Not much, not much.
And
You got a light run? Congratulations.
Christ hold you tight.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I got a weird question, observation. This is something different.
Okay.
Okay, I know it's like at page 1, it's at page 2. So why is that? Is it you talk about Jesus before resurrection, his name, and after resurrection, they use the word Christ. Ever notice that? Like you before resurrection of Jesus. After
In the Bible, it says
Well,
that?
I just noticed it's some things like here, pages, they talk about, after resurrection, they use the word Christ. Before resurrection, they use Jesus.
Interesting.
Yeah, I never wondered.
I have to say, I've not noticed that.
I'm just kind of curious.
No. That's very, should ask Pastor,
Okay, yeah,
because I'm interested in knowing. That's a really good question.
okay.
Well, Judah has already agreed to do next week, so we got that covered.
Yeah, that's right.
That's all covered.
Pastor, we have a biblical question for you.
Uh-oh, typical question.
Okay. Okay,
Jeff does.
Okay.
It's a great question.
I know, I could have talked like at page 1, they say beautiful Jesus. page 2 about Christ. Why is it really, we talk about Jesus before resurrection, but then they use after resurrection, they use Christ.
Oh, gotcha.
Mhm.
So Jesus does not become the Christ until the death and resurrection. So, you know, even though you will hear the apostles refer to him as the Messiah, it's not,
It's not interchangeable.
right. It really is very much of the thing of prior to his death and resurrection, Jesus was a wonderful teacher, son of God, everything else,
Son of man.
and 100% God, 100% man. After that's when things change, and I'm trying to put this in not big theological Christology terms.
Good, because now. I understand.
Exactly. Most people don't. I went to seminary and I'm still not positive I understand it. Because it really is there becomes a change in Jesus with the resurrection. And so that's when, in the earlier, before the resurrection, when they talk about it, it's the Greek. Actually, if you look at, we translate it as "you are the Christ."
Yeah,
and
love
stuff.
Christ. We love Christ.
Right. The the language actually implies more. You will be the Christ. You will be Christ. So it's that tricky. The languages don't translate exactly type thing, and we miss nuances. But yes, the Christ is very, very different than saying Jesus Christ. Does that answer, or am I just talking?
People may confuse and use the same words, Yeah, that's what.
Sort of like before the prince becomes king.
Yeah.
The prince
That's true.
gets
Before he
coronated,
happened,
Mhm.
Before he
or
was.
before the president gets inaugurated, he's the
Right.
president-elect.
There you go. Charles was king in name before his coronation and after his mother's death, but he doesn't really become the king until the coronation. That it didn't become that until so yeah, that's very much that type of thing. So
Okay.
thank you, Wayne, for
Okay,
helping to put.
Anytime I can help you.
Yeah. Let's wait for anything,
It's a title.
Title.
If anyone was concerned.
It is a title.
The anointed one.
Mhm.
I did get an email response, which I'm happy to share. I don't think you would mind. I asked